today for, let's say, a decade, 2 decades at most. Do you think people in Africa harbor some sense of resentment towards China?
There's been instances of that in certain countries. I think here we should not look at Africa as a homogeneous entity, where the same challenges are, across the board. Chinese companies have misbehaved in certain jurisdictions in Africa, and I'm not happy about that. The population was not happy about that. Lack of ethics, paying people badly, making building infrastructure which is not good quality. We have seen examples of that, but we should not generalize. There's also been a lot of success stories. There's also been a lot of good work done by Chinese companies when in instances whereby the government of the receiving countries have clearly established the guidelines and have clearly established standards to be followed by the Chinese contractors or the Chinese partners. So when there are guidelines, when there are standards of ethics to follow, then we observe that the partnership works. And, on the opposite side, when we just let it loose and let them do whatever they want, of course we're not going to have a good outcome. So, it's not a clear-cut situation here. There's many good things that the Chinese have done, but I agree with Estelle on the fact that there's not enough skill transfer. There's not enough training of the labor, of the workforce in Africa. And that's my main, problem with dealing with some of the Chinese companies. So if they can work on that, things can get better in the future.
Okay, so some disappointments towards China, but certainly some disappointments with regard to President Barack Obama and his presidency, which, let's not forget, began in 2008 with a lot of hope in Africa, sure, particularly given his Kenyan heritage. Yes. Do you think those hopes have been dashed and Obama is now trying to catch up?
Not really. Actually, there were a lot of hopes from the side of Africa. That is a fact. But there was a big disappointment after the first term. There was no any solution for Africa. And on the second term, we are seeing this summit. But not only this summit, there was a lot of approach from the U.S. to Africa. I can give, for example, there was a large campaign on social media, Kony, 2012, where Africa was supposed to come and to help them in Liberia against a dictator, against a very dangerous person, I would say it that way.
Uganda and Central African Republic, actually, where Kony,
yes,
Robert Kony, yeah.
Exactly. And after that, we had Obama's administration that they made a round trip in Africa to visit and to say that they wanted to be more and more present in Africa because they are seeing the potential of Africa. I don't really see that it's a very friendly action just for Africa. I really see it like a strategic economical policy for the United States.
All right, so we think this is a two-way street. Obviously, it's a two-way street, but is it a lopsided relationship? Is this an even arrangement at the moment, or do you think that still, the way things stand, the United States is the principal beneficiary of investment and dealings in Africa?
That will depend on our African leaders. It will depend on us having a consensus, a strategy whereby we are in the position of power, because we're the ones with the resources. We are the one with the potential. So we should be setting the rules for our partners, wherever they may be from. I don't have any particular problem with working with the U.S. We can work with any country in the world, but there should be fairness and justice in how we trade, in how we invest, and in how we create those partnerships. So it's really up to our leaders and also the business communities that will be dealing with those entities from the USA to sit down together and to each of them have a clear strategy on how they're going to achieve a successful outcome of this re-engagement, so to say.
And is it easier for the United States than for a European country, for example? Because let's not forget, Europe has a long history in Africa. Not all of it has been necessarily remembered in a very positive light. So the United States coming in as a relative newcomer to Africa, does that make it an advantage for the United States in your view?
In my view, it will be an advantage for Africa. Because we should not forget that Africa is now dealing with China. And Africa was dealing before with European countries, and then China came. And right now, USA is saying clearly that he wants to be part of the game. So Africa has a larger panel of potential partners, not mentioning South America. That is a good alternative also, because we have a lot of similitudes, demographic and a lot of similitude between people. So it can get the partnership easier. Because we faced the same problems. And talking about South America, of course, Brazil in particularly, sorry, they have faced a lot of issues that we are now facing. And they propose quick solutions that we can be inspired of. But nothing of this can be done without a strong institution of an African Union. We have to go to this union. This is something that we cannot do without. We should not lose more time in building this African Union, because we cannot negotiate with nobody. Because it's like right now this summit is United States, a big super powerful country with 50 small and poor states. What do you want to negotiate? It's not possible.
Indeed. I'm afraid, I'm so sorry, we're going to have to end it there. We're out of time. Of course, you were mentioning an important point. We didn't have a chance to touch on it, namely the common interest, security issues and so on that you raised. And I'm sorry not to have returned to that, but we will no doubt have a chance to speak again at some stage in the future. Thank you very much again to our guests, Prince Randy Kousou Alam Sogan, and to Estelle Benou. Thank you very much to both of you, and thank you very much to you for watching. Do stay tuned to France 24.